welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. I'm Chuck Wooden, I'll be your host. I'm joined by my co-host, Megan Dooley, who's filling in for Donna Dunyan. Thanks for being here, Megan.
Thank you for having me.
We have another great show, as we always do here at the Veterans Corner. We're going to be talking to Matt Sparks. Matt is with Honor Flight Connecticut. Some of you may have heard of that organization. Those that haven't, we're going to learn a lot tonight. Matt, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Chuck. Thank you.
You know, it's what you've done, just us talking on the phone, and everything that I've known about what you've done, the organization does. It's high time that we've had you here on the show. So we're going to jump right into this because it's we have a lot to cover. So can you tell us a little about the organization and what it does and how you got started with it?
Sure. Chuck, Honor Flight is a national organization that consists of 130 hubs across the United States. Honor Flight Connecticut is one of those 130 hubs. It started back in 2004, and the World War II Memorial was built in Washington, D.C. At that year, and there was a physical therapist that was in a veterans hospital in Ohio that wanted to take two of his patients down to D.C. to see the memorial. They were both World War II veterans. He did that, and that started Honor Flight. We're up to 250,000 veterans taken to Washington, D.C. as of last year. So it started with those two, and we've grown to 130 hubs across the United States. We're one of those 130 hubs, and we do what our national organization does. We take our veterans to Washington, D.C. for a day of honor, for a day of thanks, and to show our appreciation for what they did for our country. And they deserve no less.
That's amazing. That's Megan.
Yes, and tell me about the flow of the day. I mean, with so many hubs, but I assume it's a one-day trip?
It is a one-day trip. It's a long day. We start early in the morning and we finish late at night. So it's a long day. A lot of our veterans are senior veterans. We had them over 100 on this past the week before last on June 5th when we went to Washington D.C. on our trip. So we start the day early in the morning at the airport with a kickoff rally, and the public normally participates with us. The families are there. We had about 500 or 600 people there to greet them and to send them off. We have a rally. We have a lot of fanfare. We bring them in all together in buses from a local high school. We park there, start the day, and we do a mini parade. We have the Patriot Guard Riders, we have the fire department, we have the police. We land with a splash. We start our day with the rally. We thank them for their service, and we really make sure they understand how important they are to us and what their service meant to all of us. And that's something that needs to be said, needs to be done for all three of the groups that we target. We go to the World War II Memorial, which is where our roots started. We bring Korean vets and we bring Vietnam vets. And all of them, when they came back from their time in the service, they really didn't get the welcome home that they deserved. And we try to do that. This is the welcome home they never had. And the World War II veterans, when they came back, they all came back at the same time pretty much, and they had to get on with their lives and get started with their families and all the things they had to do. Korean veterans, the same kind of thing, and they never really got the welcome home that they deserved. Unfortunately, the third group, which is the Vietnam veterans, they got treated even worse. Not only didn't they get a welcome home, they kind of bared the brunt of the sentiment and the unrest that was going on. So we like to bring some closure. We like to thank them for their service. We like to make sure they understand how much they're appreciated and what their sacrifice meant to to the average American today. So that's kind of what we do. And the day goes, we get down to D.C., we visit all the memorials, we visit Arlington, the changing of the guard, have a dinner for them, come back at night, and we got a few hundred people waiting for them to cheer them on. And throughout the day, there's a lot of outpouring of respect, of honor, and love for what they did for all of America. So that's kind of what we do.
There has to be a lot of emotion.
Oh, there's a ton of emotion. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of tears. Obviously, there was there were a lot of troops that were lost, and unfortunately, there were 404,000 lost in World War II, 58,000 on the Vietnam Wall, 36,000 in Korea. So the group that we deal with, they're very humble. They don't like the word hero.
No.
They always say the heroes are the ones that didn't come home. And we try to bring some closure, and we try to make sure they understand that what they did is something special, and that's what we're all about.
You hear that not just with those groups here, but all veterans across the board of all eras. We were talking about groups that you target. Is there anything else you want to say about some of the groups that you target, or?
Well, we visit the memorials. We do the 3 memorials. Yeah. So, we do World War II, and that group is in the state of Connecticut. Last count, we had about 3,000 World War II veterans. We've got probably around 12 to 13,000 Korean vets, and we have about 45 to 55, that is a moving target, 45 to 55,000 Vietnam vets. We visit all 3 of their memorials, and that's kind of what the day is about. It's about making sure they know that what they did was something special, and it's appreciated. And that's the flow of the day, and there is a lot of emotion throughout the day, a lot of stories, tears as well, but there's a lot of stories that are told that every one of our veterans has a guardian companion that goes with them. A lot of times that's a family member, generation removed, sometimes 2 generations removed. And many times they never heard the stories that they're sharing on the bus with their peers. So it is an emotional day.
You know, locally, the Vietnam Moving Wall, I know it came to Bristol here in Connecticut back in '98. And I actually had the opportunity, the honor, to work security down there for about 16 hours while I was there. And some of the things that I've seen, the emotions,
Sure.
even at a mobile moving wall that travels the country. It sparks a lot of memories.
That's a exact replica, smaller, of course.
Yeah.
And there were 2 of them. I think there's a number of them that travel. Yeah. We had 2 in the last 2 weeks. There was one in Cheshire, and there was also one in Norwalk at the same time. When we were down in D.C., they were both here. So, yeah, that is very moving.
Precisely, and also there is that burden of war for many people that you were talking about, the stories that they're sharing on the bus ride and visiting all those monuments, especially for those visiting those who didn't have the opportunity to come home. How many stories would you say are being told for the first time because of what you do?
There's hundreds. I've been involved for 13 years with Honor Flight. Only 3 years since I've been in Connecticut. Prior to that, I was in upstate New York, and we had an honor flight there. And our other chapter we had taken 2,000 veterans to D.C. They didn't talk a lot about it. My dad passed the week before he died. He was in World War II. We found out he was in the Army. We thought he was in the Navy. That's how much he didn't, there was no conversation. So when you talk about stories, there's a ton of stories, and a lot of them held it in, and a lot of them did not tell the stories. And it's kind of therapeutic. We get in that environment with them, and they meet somebody that was on the same ship, or they meet somebody that was in the same locale that they were. It's mind-boggling what comes out in the stories, but it's very, very common. Call it PTSD, whatever. They just did not talk about. They came home from the war, and many of them did not want to go back there, and in their mind they did not want to go back there.
To go off the questions for a bit, to talk about, speak on what you just said, I was in Beirut in the Navy, so I mean I was off the coast. There's a local restaurant in the Winstead area, and it's owned by somebody from Lebanon. Beautiful restaurant. Come to find out, I was introduced to him, and he was actually there at the same time I was, fighting for his country up in the hills. So we automatically clicked, even though we weren't in the same spot, we were in the same locale, and we talked for quite some time. So you're right, the stories that come out, and it's a bond even if you weren't there with them.
There's threads there that you're talking about, that attach one to another, and that people just shared something. There was a piece, a connection, like what you're talking about, and that's very common, and they share a lot of stories. I can't tell you how many sons, daughters sat next to mom or dad, the vet, whoever it happened to be, and said, I never knew that. Or you even find out about medals. That's what's really revealing. This past flight, we had 6 Bronze Stars on our bus, and the numerous Purple Hearts, and there were family members who knew nothing about it. Had no idea.
Yeah. It comes out when they're amongst their own and they're talking.
Exactly.
Yeah, the camaraderie. So how much does it cost to attend the honor flight?
For veterans, there's no charge at all. It's free. We raise the money to do that, and that's why it's free for the veterans. So there's no charge at all. Every veteran gets a guardian and a companion to go with them. So there's one person that accompanies them. Obviously, we started with an older group when we started with World War II in Korea, and that was pretty necessary. As we moved into Vietnam, we kept that going, and it kind of moves from a guardian to maybe a companion. The companion pays, they pay the fee, it's $350. That's what they need to pay to go along. And if that's a hardship for the family, we have guardians waiting to go. I started in this organization as a guardian and went 4 times as a guardian with a vet I didn't even know. And I was honored to do that. And took me 4 years to get on the list to become a guardian. About 75 to 80% of them are family members, so there's not a lot of openings for guardians.
You list on your website companions and guardians. So can we go into a little bit more detail about? You said, how do you become a guardian?
You just apply. You go. Normally, what happens is our applications are on our website. I think our website is on the screen or will be on the screen. But you go to our website. The applications are there. And you take a look at the veteran application. A lot of times the veteran application will come in and the guardian application will come in with it. Member of the family, friend, a niece, nephew, whatever. Has to be between the ages of 18 and 70 years old, in good physical condition, because there's some responsibilities physically involved. And if you're an independent guardian, you'd like to go as a guardian and escort a veteran that might not have family, friend, or the financial capability to be a guardian, you can apply as a guardian as well. And that's right on all that information is on our website.
And the website was honorflight CT.org.
Exactly. Honorflightct.org. We have a Facebook page, and we also our Gmail is honorflightct@gmail.com.
They're showing it on the screen right now, so that's
perfect. What could be better?
And it doesn't hurt to reiterate get people out there. For veterans, how do they apply? Is there
The application, they'll see the application on the website. It's printable. Send it U.S. mail. You can fill it in on your computer if your browser's working and you're computer literate. But either way, fill in the application. We have a waiting list, but we'd like to have more. We're targeting right now our senior veterans. The travel years for World War II veterans, Korean veterans is somewhat limited. Their travel years are limited. This is a full day trip. We had 44 veterans that went with us 2 weeks ago. We brought 44 wheelchairs. Not that everybody's wheelchair bound, there's a lot of walking. That's why a guardian needs to be in good physical condition between 18 and 70. A little bit of an incline getting up to the Vietnam Wall. So they need to be able to push the wheelchair. We bring a wheelchair for every vet, whether they just want to sit down, they want to. By the end of the day, a lot of them are interested in having a ride.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, that's why we do that. The veteran and the guardian are together the entire day, and that's what the intent is, that they, as I said, about 75-80% of them are probably family members. So,
and what's amazing about that is it could be a family member that, extremely close family member, but there's a degree of bonding that occurs on this trip
absolutely,
that they've never experienced before. Because, like you said, they haven't heard the stories.
They haven't heard the stories. They didn't realize how much, whether it's mom, dad, grandpa, whomever the veteran is, how much they did, how instrumental they were. And this group is so humble. It's you need a prosecuting attorney to get these stories out of, because they're so humble, and we're pretty good on the bus about trying to get them to. And once one tells a story, it just flows from there.
It's a domino effect.
We had a gentleman. He spoke for probably 7-8 minutes. That was was in World War II. A week and a half ago, Sunday the 5th. Was in Auschwitz and Dachau and freed both those concentration camps, and just went on to talk about what he and I don't know how much of that he ever shared before. I mean, I think he shared some of it, but he was it was awesome. And as you hear some of these great stories, and you realize the rock stars that are sitting amongst you. Yeah. That's what's so revealing.
And what has to happen too is by the time they get back home at the end of the day, there has to be one massive sigh of relief, because there's probably things that they want to talk about all those years that they didn't, but they were amongst their own, and they finally opened up.
That's kind of why I use the word closure. Yeah. We do bring some closure. We walk through the airport. We'll go down the concourse. We get to Washington, and there's hundreds of people that are just waiting for their planes, and they're clapping, and I can't tell you how many veterans start to turn around and look. That's for you. Yeah. That's for you. And exactly. they don't expect it. They don't realize it. But boy, do they earned it.
You had mentioned Dachau and Auschwitz. I had I don't know if it was, you could say the word pleasure, I had the opportunity to tour Dachau. And as an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old, nothing bothers you. But when you walk in there, even after all these years,
sure,
the hair on the back of your neck stands up. I couldn't imagine walking into that camp back then and experiencing what they experienced.
Yeah, it was. You mentioned before emotion. You want to talk when he was telling those stories, the emotion was overwhelming.
Yeah. Well.
Well, it's relating to that story because, as you said, it was freeing. It was the emotion. I have experienced. My 2 uncles served in Vietnam. They came back and they only shared their stories once, and it was just the right tone. and they were sharing stories amongst themselves. And my dad was the youngest, and he looked at them when they were sharing these and said, "You never told me this." And the respect that he had for his two older brothers, you cannot replace that. But this is what I love about your honor flight, is that you're giving them that do-over. You're giving them that opportunity not only to share, to make that camaraderie and those connections, but really to understand that what they did, even though they might not believe it, they have made a difference and they have sacrificed a lot, and we are forever in their debt because of it. So my question here is for people like me, how do we help? How do we get involved?
Well, the first thing we would like at this juncture is to make sure that we're focused on our senior veterans. You know, the Vietnam veterans, obviously, there's 50,000 of them in our state, and we don't just service Connecticut. Because we fly out of Bradley, we service Western Massachusetts as well. So my numbers that I'm giving you are only Connecticut. Yeah. You know, if you live in Springfield, you're closer to Bradley, where we fly out of, than most people that live in Connecticut. So that's our area. But we want applications, because that's what we work on. We want the senior veterans. You know, our World War II veterans are now between, most of them average age 95 to 103. Our Korean veterans are about 80, depending on when they went in, 87 to 93. And the Vietnam veterans are between 70 and 80, 82. So we need to get the senior veteran, because their travel years are limited. So yes. If you know a World War II vet, if you know a Korean vet, even a Vietnam vet, obviously, we have a waiting list for Vietnam vets because there's more of them, and they're sending in applications. They're easier to get to. A lot of the others are in nursing homes. So, you know, they're harder to get to. If you know a senior veteran or any veteran of any of those three wars, conflicts, tell them about Honor Flight, and they can, you know, our information's readily available. I shared our website, our Facebook page, everything's there to look at, and let them get in touch with us, because it's an honor and a privilege to do what we do, and we want to do more of it, and obviously we're going to do more of it now that hopefully COVID's behind us. We were on a hiatus. I did mention this before, but we were a new hub. Started up in 2019. Took only World War II veterans on our first flight. That's all we had. We went down to Washington, D.C., had a wonderful day, got a lot of publicity, notoriety, and we shut down for almost 3 years because of COVID. Yeah. Safety's got to be a primary concern, so we were not able to. So we just had our second flight. We're going again in the fall, in September. So we'll be going in September, and we're looking for applications. So, you know, a veteran, please let them know about Honor Flight Connecticut.
And there's space for them.
We pretty much have to wrap it up now. But the last thing, I think we already touched on this, is how do we get in touch with you? Obviously by the website. The website, which is honorflightct.org. And actually the email address.
The email address is on there. It's Honor Flight. There's a link to our email. You can send us a message, honorflightct@gmail.com. Yeah. Yeah. And we have a Facebook page as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, for further information, it's all there, readily available. This is, and I think I told you before, this was not the last time you'll be on the show. It's taken a long time. I wish we had thought of this before. We want to have you back again in the future to give us updates on.
It'd be a pleasure. It'd be a pleasure.
We have to wrap it up. So with that being said, Matt, it was an absolute honor to have you here.
It was.
Well, thank you for having us, because it's an honor for us to do what we do, and the more we have the ability to speak about it, the better it is for us. So thank you. Okay. On behalf of our veterans.
With that being said, once again, that's all the time we have. We want to thank the viewers for watching, joining us this evening, and till the next time on the Veterans Corner. Good night.
Welcome, I'm Nick Augustino. I'd like to welcome you to the Clam Box, where we do seafood our way. We got lobster roll, fried clams, fish and chip, fried shrimp, and our famous onion rings. We put a lot of precaution into the safety for you and your family. Not only do we use plexiglass at the cash register and sanitizer, we all wear gloves and we all keep a 6-foot distancing, and everybody must wear a mask. We carry all the options. We got DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and of course, we got curbside where we bring it right to your car. Online ordering is available at clamboxnewbritain.com or by calling us at 860-357-3118. The Clam Box, 586 West Main Street, New Britain.